Here at SwitchForce, I love to cover Animal Crossing, Super Mario 3D All-Stars, all the most amazing, latest and greatest Switch games to share in the enthusiasm, the excitement, and the fun with all of you, and to be informative too. I give you guys the best sales and the latest announcements, when the directs are going to happen, and from time to time, we like to dip our toes into a little speculation. Is the Switch Pro already hinting at its release date? Is Nintendo unintentionally giving us an idea of when their 4K console is going to launch? The evidence is mounting, and the Switch Pro is probably the biggest rumor that has ever existed on this channel because it's lasted for so long, years even, but it's heating up, and now I feel like it's like a magnifying glass is zeroing in on March 2021, the end of the month, the end of the fiscal year, and the beginning of a new half generation, a new 4K universe for Mario and Nintendo. What's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. Make sure to smash that like button if you're loving the Switch this year. I feel like Nintendo has awakened. Animal Crossing obviously carried us through COVID and the early parts of the year, but now they've bounced back with a super sweet announcement of Super Mario 3D All-Stars, a quick release, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, we've got Pikmin 3 Deluxe, we've got third parties coming in hot and toasty, Hades just dropped and it's taking over the eShop. It feels good. Let me know in the comments down below which game you've been enjoying the most recently. I'm looking ahead today. Alright, so Switch Pro rumors, you know, Bloomberg talked about they're getting ready to really produce these things. It's going to have a better screen, more power. Then they started talking about Nintendo has been prepping developers to get ready for 4K. Multiple developers told Bloomberg that, hey, Nintendo's told us we got to get our games up-res. We got to get them ready to go. We got to get them powerhouse for 2021. And then Nintendo comes through with their best partner showcase ever and delivers Monster Hunter Rise, a game that has been heavily anticipated since the inception of the system itself. Monster Hunter has been a major franchise for Nintendo, especially in their handheld space, and so it just made sense that eventually Capcom would put together a killer new entry specifically for Switch, and that's what Rise is, and it's launching on March 26th, 2021. There's two things interesting about that date. One, they're willing to date the game 6 months ahead of time. And you might not think that's a lot of time, but in today's pandemic world, where Nintendo was giving us 2 weeks to pre-order Mario 3D All-Stars and 2 months to get ready for Paper Mario and the Origami King, 6 months with a specific date is a lot. And then Balan Wonderworld, shown off in the same partner showcase, the game from the creators of Sonic, is also dropping on that same Friday in March, the 26th. And if you follow Nintendo in depth, you know that their fiscal calendar runs until March 31st, 2021. So what better way to really end the year, their fiscal year, right? With a bang for investors, with a boom, with a sign of things to come, than by dropping a brand new piece of hardware and a bunch of tentpole titles. Now, Monster Hunter Rise isn't Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, but that might also come in that time frame. We've heard that they're working on that. We know that it's not ready for this year, but I feel like it's got to be soon. And Nintendo launched the original Switch as well as the original Breath of the Wild in March. Now, Monster Hunter Rise, even though not first party, does hold so much weight, especially in Japan. This game is absolutely massive. And then Monster Hunter World really brought the popularity of the franchise westward. And here's something else as well. Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate launched alongside the new Nintendo 3DS. Remember when Nintendo did that sort of weird half step? Now, I fully expect the Switch Pro to be more impressive and better implemented, but it's interesting that Nintendo did trust Capcom and Monster Hunter to be a major game when they were going to a new model of an already existing platform. So could they be recreating the same atmosphere and the same scenario with Switch Pro? I bring you another piece of evidence. Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time remake was initially announced for other platforms at Ubisoft's Ubi Forward event. It's coming out in January. But since then, we've seen the game being labeled for Switch on Ubisoft's website, via Ubisoft's tweets, and on GameStop. And it really seems like this game is also headed to Switch at a later date. and GameStop lists the game as March 31st, 2021. Now, this is a Wednesday, so I do not believe the game actually comes out on March 31st, but it's significant again because that is the final date of the fiscal year, and therefore they believe and or know that Nintendo intends to drop this before the end of their 2020 fiscal calendar. And why not have a third-party title from Ubisoft with a popular franchise, even if it doesn't look all that great? Maybe this could be another game to help bolster a kind of launch lineup, a second launch lineup for your Switch Pro. March also is 18 months after September 2019, which is significant because that is when Nintendo dropped the Switch Lite, adding another element, another pillar to their Switch plan. Now you could get a Switch that does not switch, that does not dock, but offers an entry point for portable heavy gamers, a cheaper model that favors a lot of the audience that love the 3DS, which just ended production this past week. Now, 18 months is a lot of time, and that seems like a perfect gap to introduce another pillar, the third one. Now, I hope that the Switch Pro does it all. I hope that it docks and goes portable and brings that beautiful screen and that 4K potential to your TV and to wherever you travel. But it just all seems too convenient. Big games releasing from major third parties like Capcom, Sega, and Ubisoft all around the exact same week. Breath of the Wild was a March game. The fiscal year is a March ending date. I really am starting to think that this Switch Pro is coming by the end of March 2021, and that's a super soon date. I don't know if we're ready for it. You also have to remember that Sony and Microsoft will be launching their consoles in November, and 4.5 months feels like enough time for the honeymoon period to wear off. They'll be through their initial allotments. The hype and the hardcore that buy on day one will have the system. The holiday season is over. Hopefully credit cards and maybe even the economy has recovered a bit, and people would be ready to spend on a Switch Pro. Now, will you be ready to spend on a Switch Pro? That's something we're gonna have to discuss. What all features does it bring about? What does it do better? Is it necessary? Are there, goodness gracious, any exclusive games? I hope not. They really need to keep this library consistent. But in terms of Nintendo incentivizing and making it worth your money, we'll have to see what they do. Could they drop the Switch around this time as well? Like the OG Switch gets a price drop, maybe down to $250. Then you have a $200 Switch Lite, a $250 Switch, and a $300 Switch Pro coming in at almost half the price of the PS5 and the Series X, which are rocking the $500 price tag. A OG Switch at $250 is 50% off. Nintendo comes in hot at the end of their fiscal year, ready to surge forward into their new calendar, crushing it with a brand new console that still plays your Mario Kart, your Zelda, your Animal Crossing, your Pikmin, and your Smash Bros, and maybe even paired with a Breath of the Wild 2 type title to accelerate into what is promised to be a packed 2021. Everything we've been hearing and reading is that 2020 was sort of always planned to be a slower year, even with the delays of the pandemic. Yes, Mario got pushed out of probably its summer slot into a later release date, and maybe a few games ended up not making the cut for 2020. But it seems like 2021 was always prepped to be Nintendo's big year. And I believe that might hold games like Breath of the Wild 2, Splatoon 3, and who knows what else. Maybe Nintendo has been saving for this moment for a while now, and maybe the rumors of a Switch Pro have been off base, but not entirely incorrect. It seems like Nintendo always has planned for the Switch to kind of swallow and envelop their entire arsenal of hardware. They used to be a brand that had two significant arms, the handheld branch and the console branch. And it was very interesting because they would be splitting their properties, splitting their talent and teams, and splitting their games across these platforms. And it became exciting when we knew they were going to unify around the Switch. Now the best handheld games are the best home console games, and the best home console games are the best handheld games, and the same system plays them all. And Nintendo does not have to worry about divvying out their time and talent across two very different platforms. It's all on Switch. So this is the beautiful future that we've dreamed of for Nintendo, where the best handheld Marios and the best console Zeldas and the best handheld quirky eShop games and the best third-party console titles are all in one place. And as long as they're able to keep the lineup unified when Switch Pro probably launches in March 2021, this will be the best future for Nintendo. If you don't care about 4K, it's okay because the lineup works on what you got. If you want a cheaper entry point, well, the Switch Lite and the drop Switch OG are for you. And if you are cutting edge, then your Switch Pro is cheaper than any other console, can still do 4K gaming, and has access to the best exclusive library on the planet. Can you compete with Mario Odyssey, Smash Bros. Ultimate, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Mario 3D All-Stars, Breath of the Wild, eventually Breath of the Wild 2, Splatoon 2, ARMS, Mario Party? No, you cannot. And as other consoles seem to get dicier and dicier in terms of what will actually be exclusive to their platform, Nintendo boasts the characters, the charm, the nostalgia, and the knowledge of how to make great games, to really utilize and take advantage of power and specs. And so I think this is going to be amazing. I'll let you know once more becomes clear, but it seems like everyone is in on this Switch Pro hitting in 2021. And I think it's going to happen. And it seems like these game announcements with these early release dates and these very suspicious third-party organizational release dates around the same time frame are hinting at a Switch Pro within 6 months. And that is super exciting. Nintendo embracing a bit of power and oomph for their best platform yet, their best seller yet. They're pushing an insane number of consoles. It was sold out for much of the year. And Animal Crossing New Horizons is the second best-selling game in Japan of all time, and probably going to be a 30 million unit seller, or maybe even more. Nintendo is riding high. They've awakened after a summer of sleepiness, and now they might be taking their best shot yet at creating an incredible ecosystem with multiple entry points, a ton of amazing games that work across the family of systems, and a really incredible way to kick off 2021, to wrap their 2020 fiscal year, and to make our decision extra interesting. Will you upgrade? Will you stay put? Well, we'll have to wait and see. But in the meantime, everybody, thanks so much for watching. Smash that like button if you're excited for Nintendo's future. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of a March release date and what game you've been enjoying most lately. For me, it's been the 3D All-Stars collection. Dude, those are so fun to play. Galaxy, it looks so good on the Switch. It almost feels like a new Mario. But for now, thanks so much, everybody. Have a fantastic day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay smart out there. I love you so much. Just like I love Nintendo, and I always have. Probably always will. So thanks again. SwitchForce out.